So, as usual, let's start with roll call. Commissioner Fox,
Present.
Commissioner Herrera,
Present.
Commissioner Huppertz,
Present.
Commissioner Turner,
Present.
and I'm here too, Commissioner Felton. So, we're still approving agendas, right? Okay. So if you all have had a chance to look at it, if there are any changes needed, moving the order of things around or whatever, go ahead and suggest them. Otherwise, I'll just wait for a motion to approve the agenda.
Move we approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. The agenda for tonight is the one that's in front of us. No changes. Next up is approval of the minutes, the draft Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes for our last meeting, which was August 13th, 2019. Let me know if anything needs correcting. Otherwise, we'll see if we can get those approved and moving forward.
Yeah, I had one thing on number 3, the approval of minutes, 6/25/19.
Oops, yep.
Shouldn't that be 7/23/19?
Yes, sorry. Didn't-
Had to find something.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I'm
Didn't
glad
catch
someone
that.
caught that.
Yeah, out in the
I
sidebar
see
there.
that. I think I was a little tired when I was reading this.
Okay, what else?
On number 12, next planning and zoning meeting, 8/27, but we didn't have one then.
Right, we didn't, but that was still,
But that
what we-
was still.
that was still the plan.
planned at that
Yeah.
time. Okay. Other than that, it's
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, so then, what I need is a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting with that one change on page 1 of 4, to change that date from June 25th to July 23rd.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Turner.
I move that we approve the minutes for August 13, the minutes of August 13, 2019, with the change to item number 3 in the sidebar to change the date to July 23rd, as noted by Commissioner Fox.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right. It is raining cats and dogs out there.
Jeez, I know,
I'm
it's
gonna
so
have to start
loud.
speaking louder.
I know.
We're all going to speak up a bit, probably, to catch the
Look at
recording.
that.
Oh, man, I'm glad we already walked in.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
Because I was
You'd
thinking
be
about
soaked
waiting until it
before
got
you made
better.
it halfway to the door.
Was there hail?
Oh,
Yeah, good.
All right. So we have 1, 2, 3 items in front of us now in a row that are all discussion items. And I guess we'll just hit them one by one and see if we can nail down all the details and get these to where they might be action items. So the first one is item 4, discussion of design standards. And you've all got stuff in your packets. Do you need to guide us through this one, Tanya?
So we just pulled a couple of different municipalities for their design standards, just so you could get an idea of what theirs look like. So one was from the town of Bernalillo, and one was from
Silver City.
Oh, Silver City. So, just to give you an idea of what theirs looks like, kind of like what we've done in the past with other changes. We look at it, the next meeting we compare it, and then the next meeting we dive in. So, so I don't know if you guys had anything that stood out to you on any of those, or?
I'm assuming that most of these municipalities use the ASHTO standards for,
I believe. Yes.
do they? Okay. So is there going to be a lot of difference then in the nuts and bolts of like driveway distances?
No, I don't think so, not as far as driveway distances, no. I think what I'm really interested in is seeing at what point they make them pave. Because I know that in the town of Bernalillo, like Santiago subdivision, of course, there's a lot of houses in there. I mean, they had to pave. We did have one that asked for permission to leave it a dirt road, but it's a one-way in, one-way out. They wanted a rural character in there, and although it's a kind of a rural character, they have a really bad flooding problem over there. So every time it rains, there is a lake in the middle of that subdivision.
Oh,
Yeah.
where the road is?
Yeah.
Well, I noticed here at Silver City has an urban-rural dividing point, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I mean, these others have so much more than what ours have.
I know.
And it's so detailed, I don't know if I could even
And,
understand
I
all of it.
wasn't sure at what point we needed to, because we want to hire somebody to do a standalone design standards for us. But I just don't know when I'll be able to budget that. So I thought, well, if we can change just a little bit of it,
Okay.
because you guys are really good at that. I mean, I think the work that we've done on the changes that are coming on October 2nd, I think they're phenomenal. I have no problem going and defending any of it. So I'm very proud of the work that you guys put in, and I think that we could make something pretty solid even without hiring anybody, you know?
Although I think at some point it might be good to bring in some expert contributors.
And, it's also something that we might be able to reach out to the COG for as well. They might be able to help us a little bit.
And it may matter, especially when like Campbell Ranch begins to develop or something, if it's a bigger development, it might be more important to have
Yeah.
higher standards if it's big. I don't know.
Well, they're using the 1999
So they're under the
subdivision
old
ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
so
there's not,
there's
okay.
not going to be a lot we
This
can
would
do.
be just future subdivisions, okay.
Although, the thing is with Campbell is it's so long since that master plan was approved that they may need to be going back to the drawing board with that,
Yeah.
just for marketing reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the buyers, the cohort of buyers has changed out of recognition since that. I mean, it's totally different.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed that I liked in the Silver City thing was these general guidelines that kind of give you a conceptual idea
Yes.
of,
Page what?
I don't know, the pages
Of
are.
of theirs.
Yeah, Silver Cities, over here, it has 5.2.16. All public streets within the corporate limits shall be improved in accordance with the following guidelines. And there's just 3 of them. They're fairly detailed. And I don't know that we necessarily want those guidelines, but I think having an overview would be a good thing.
Yeah.
It's the last page of.
Okay,
of the
last
handout.
page, okay, I'm not there yet.
There's stuff in here too about bicycle lanes. You know, a big difference between us and Silver City or us and Bernalillo is they have a downtown and we don't.
Right.
Right.
So you have to sort of pick and choose. But the way they do bicycle lanes, I wouldn't lift it out of here and do it completely this way, but you can get some ideas from it anyway. Simple things like they say, when you do it, you'll do it on both sides of the road,
Yeah.
you know,
Right, right.
rather than people having to cross the street to get to their bicycle.
Right. I'm wondering too, if trails might be, instead of the,
Mhm,
along
exactly.
with that, might be the way to approach things.
You could take the concept and apply it to something other than bicycles or something in addition to bicycles.
Yeah.
I think when you talk about trails, bicycle lanes, and sidewalks,
to think about what is really needed, because like they've talked about the trail that they put over off Horton that doesn't really go anywhere. So when we're thinking about even any of these streets that we're paving now, I was thinking about Church Street, just as an example. If we just put a trail and not no pavement or not a sidewalk, so that horses can go on it. I'm thinking, okay, so people down there with horses could ride up this way. Are there people down there with a lot of horses? Then you think about our horses wanting to ride from Edgewood down through that way, and then if they go over that way, they can't get over the highway, and there's nothing that way because there's no road that way. Do the trails take them anywhere? And I think that needs to be part of what we look at when we decide if it needs to have a trail, whether it's gravelled or paved, on any of these roads that we're trying to do for the town, not just subdivisions, but especially on the main roads of town, which is not what we're looking at. But just, it's something
Like connecting.
it's got to do something, or what's the point of making them do it?
A trail on Church conceivably takes you to Williams Ranch, and I don't know where we stand on Williams Ranch with respect to easements
Yeah.
to put a trail there, but it would be really nice. It goes down to 66.
Yeah, but then there's a problem crossing the highway, as we found out, I think, when we were doing our tour down there, that they don't want you crossing that highway. The
Yeah.
DOT doesn't, with
Right.
the horse.
Oh,
Crossing 66.
Yeah.
Right.
So, when the town's looking at trails, and that, or should it be paved or not paved, because horses don't like pavement. But you got to think about, are horses really going to go somewhere, I think that needs to be evaluated. But in subdivisions, if you're making a trail, it needs to come out something that has a trail. What's the point of the trail if it's not connecting to another trail?
Right.
yeah.
Well, what we see a lot of, at least in the north end of town, and also along 66, once we put in sidewalks, they get high use.
Oh, yeah.
And I walk this 344 trail quite a bit, and the downside to a gravel trail, notwithstanding the fact that there is an occasional horse rider who comes through there who appreciates it, erosion and growth of weeds.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thinking.
Yeah, the gravel ends up being more maintenance.
Maintenance.
Yeah.
It's easier to put in, and it's more amenable to horses, but then sign up for the maintenance that's going to be needed. Erosion right now is a problem where it intersects Hill Ranch, I think it is. It's really starting to fall down to the right. Water, without a culvert or a water bar, water's just going to find its own
Yeah.
way. So, and I notice every place we've got paved trails, people use the heck out of it.
I like the paved trails
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
Or a sidewalk, if you didn't have a lot of room, you could put a sidewalk, just.
So I don't know, is there a way to get input from people who use them? The comprehensive plan was kind of that, but I don't know that we sampled in detail enough people. Like, are the people who want horse trails the same as the people who use paved sidewalks to walk?
Doesn't Parks and Rec have maybe some information on that, or?
I'm not sure. We'll have to, we can invite Karina to one of our meetings and she can talk trails probably all night long to us.
I mean, if you have like horse trails that go to other places
They go
where
to
they
other
can go
places.
around, you can actually make a trip, at least spend some time going around on horseback, north or south. You maybe don't need to have them everywhere.
Yeah.
And the walking trails that are paved are maybe the ones that go to, retail establishments and stuff. Schools, parks, retail.
Where there's room, you could have a horse trail on one side and a walking trail on the other.
Yeah, we used to
You know,
think
have
about it
easements.
as like multi-use. The first concept we did with DOT along here, along 344 and Section 16, was stacked trails. It was like paved here and gravel here next to each other. And DOT said it's too wide.
Yeah.
The whole thing combined is, there just isn't easement for it.
Yeah.
So now you have to start thinking about not multi-use trails, but different trails.
Different
Yeah.
trails on different sides of the road.
Yeah, I'd like to see what Corinna has in her files.
Yeah.
That's been done. Because I know there was a lot of coordinating with Colt Pack and so forth.
Yeah.
Well, one thing this brings up too is that, when you're retrofitting around town where the road easements already are, it's difficult. And I think that we need something in the subdivision ordinance for new construction so that we get them built in.
Yes.
Because over in Big H subdivision, that was done under Santa Fe County, I think in 1982, something like that. They have an empty lot that just grows weeds. I would have much rather had trails, because the road easements in that part of town are very wide. There's plenty of room for that.
Yeah.
They would get a lot more use.
Yeah, so when they do look at doing paving squares, they need to look at, whether if it's wide enough, maybe a horse trail on one side.
Those roads are nice.
Paved trail on the other side.
You could do both. The Square
those-
H is wide enough.
Those are wide,
But-
yeah.
But any new subdivisions, if they're off somewhere, if we're gonna make them do some sort, it needs to be that it goes to a trail, because if this road that's coming off of has no trail, why should we make them do it?
Well, if it's a large enough subdivision, within the subdivision, it would facilitate
you're right.
internal
Yeah,
circulation.
true.
And I think Maida told me, who did that presentation that I went to years ago, there's a lot of data out there that shows that when you have people out on the trails, it reduces crime rates
Oh, sure.
in a big way.
Oh.
Because people are out around looking.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've kind of mentioned the idea to some of my neighbors who are old grouches, and they always say no at first. And then when I give them this information, suddenly, people think, well, maybe.
So that's a good point I hadn't thought about. Within the subdivision, people could walk. So maybe,
Yeah.
we'd have to.
And children,
Yeah.
yeah, staying off the
But
road.
but I agree with Glenn that the gravel pressure fines trails don't hold up.
Yeah.
You're going to have to replenish them.
Yeah, you can maintain them, but you got to do it regularly. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And our road department's pretty well occupied right now, aren't they, with?
Yeah, and I don't think they would maintain the trails anyway. I think it'd be James and Joe. And they're really
The
stretched thin.
resources, no. Don't need any more. You don't need any more to do, right? So, maybe depending on the site, if we decide as a subdivision, we decide we're gonna have paved roads, at that point, when they go to paved roads, they have to have a paved path.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
That would be a thought. Or if it's still gonna be a gravel road, then they do some sort of gravel path or something.
I mean, I want to get it right for the equestrian community too, but honestly, at this point, I don't know where they're coming from and going to. I don't see anybody trailering their horses to
Yeah, where are
344
they
Hill
gonna park?
Ranch.
Unless they're riding
And
from their house.
I do see evidence of a horse there
Well,
occasionally that
yeah.
they leave behind.
I do see horses on there coming, because I.
Once in a while, yeah.
Once in a while, but it's not.
And I don't know where they're coming from.
Because they can't get down Hill Ranch Road, there's not an easement along there really for horses, right?
So if that were a paved trail for walkers, would you suddenly have, 17 equestrians angry at you, or would you have one angry at you? And could you find a way to accommodate the people who are inconvenienced?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It'd be pretty cool to have some sort of a trail system that went from Horton down Venus and
Oh, yeah.
around and then went through section 16, since that's probably never going to develop. But that would be a great, little trail system. People could jog in there. There's no traffic. They could ride their horses,
Right.
And Horton is why they do have the trails. Is there a trail and a pavement on Horton? I can't remember. Or is it
I think it's a paved trail, isn't
paved
it?
trail?
Yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
trail.
It just ends, but it'd be cool
But
to bring it all the way
yeah.
around.
So
Yep.
whenever Venus gets done, that it's probably got a little more easement
Yeah,
than Hill
it
Ranch did.
has a
Maybe
little
they
more,
can
yeah.
work that out.
Yeah.
There was a trail like that in Pittsburgh, in a place called Shenley Park, that, I don't know who built it, but it was well-maintained, and people ran on it, or walked, and it was dirt and gravel, but it was built on top of mining slag. Most of the park was. It was this hilly area that was originally mining slag, and, it had soil over it by this point, and then they struck this trail that actually went somewhere. You could get from the Oakland area, from University of Pittsburgh, around to where Mr. Rogers lived, by the golf course that was at the other end of the trail.
Have you seen Roxy Carpenter's conceptual design for trails on Section 16?
I believe I have. I think she emailed it to me during the comp plan. The mayor wanted me to give you all a copy of this because we may use this to defend some of the changes that we're making. So read over that. Oh,
Okay.
and by the way, I'll wait till matters from staff.
Okay.
So just for
Where'd
the
this come
recording, this
from?
is the Edgewood Commons Master Plan
Yes, for section 6.
for Section 16 from
Oh.
February 2014.
Yes,
This is like the most recent one that was done?
yes.
Is there a bunch?
Yeah, there's several old ones, so.
And this is the most recent.
And here comes deluge number 2.
Yeah.
I guess the 40% panned out.
Yeah. By going all day with nothing and then 2 hours with nonstop rain, right?
Yeah.
I got a couple of questions on this. One is, I've never seen any mention on streetlights. If somebody puts in a development of a certain size, where I grew up, when you had a new development, they put in streetlights, but it was in town. Do we have anything like that?
We do have street lighting in the zoning ordinance.
It has to be
It has to be certain, yeah, it has to shine down.
Yeah.
preserved.
The night sky portion of the zoning ordinance. So yeah, it's in the zoning ordinance. Now, in the subdivision ordinance, I can't remember, but I'm sure there's something in there about lighting, and it may even reference a zoning ordinance that you have to follow that.
So I live in the Hermosa, Montana subdivision. And we've got the required little lot that's kind of a park. But there's no street lights. And
You really don't see any street lights around here
Yeah.
except down 344 and then 66.
Those were
There
just-
isn't any down Church, is there?
No,
Church Street.
put in
And
on
most
the-
people don't want
No.
them.
Oh, they
Yeah,
don't want 'em.
It's very,
no. And the
very
ones we
dark skies
have,
out here.
they were added when we widened those roads.
The roads were done.
DOT
Oh, okay.
did that.
Yeah, we didn't used to have them.
And
It's
of
strange
course-
because we have them all throughout Bernalillo.
And when
so-
we were young, the option for solar didn't exist, and it does
Yeah.
now. So you have more possibilities to do that. So I don't want us to get bogged down in this
Right.
and spend too much time on it.
Right.
What do we need to do with it tonight?
Nothing, we just wanted to give you a couple examples to look at. If anything jumps out at you, like you referenced, the 5216, so we can take a look at that on our own and then maybe bring some ideas and, just play around with it for now. I'm kind of just giving us something to do while we're waiting for these big things that are
Yeah.
coming. Because we've done a lot in the last few months. So I think it's okay to be a little bored.
Well, I'll go through mine with a highlighter
Right.
Yeah.
and tick off the stuff that looks really usable.
I would like to make one more comment before we leave this discussion. And I mentioned it last week, and Tanya's suggestion of 0 to 5 could be gravel. And after that, paving. I want you to keep in mind that I think when we think of developers as people with a lot of money, but really developers are people who already own the land and have lived here, are trying to develop their own land. There could be big developers who bought it, but a lot of this land has not sold hardly at all for years and years. Does not move quickly out here. So if we make things too stringent, it could really stunt the growth of Edgewood. And I'm not sure that's a good idea, because the subdivisions, if you have to pave, you're gonna have to charge a lot more for the land, and people aren't gonna move here. I mean, and can the developer even come up with, I'm okay with us lowering the amount, but I'm not sure it should be like only 5, I think we need to think about those numbers seriously.
I think also what we need to do is, one of these days, is take a field trip to some of the ones that we deal with, where you had a subdivider come in and do just a few lots and then leave, and now we have a road that is such a mess, and the people that live on it now are too old to maintain it. they don't have any money, they're on a fixed income, and it's to the point where it's gonna be hard to get emergency vehicles to them. So that's kind of the whole idea of why staff is kind of pushing this, because we get the calls.
Well, I think
All
those
the time.
subdivisions were built not even the gravel standards, because having done a road not that long ago, if you really build it to the standards that the gravel road has to be done, that road holds up really well. Because mine's been there since 2007. That's been 12 years now, and it looks as good as it did when we put it in. So if it's put in right, even as a good gravel road, we did get the town to take it, but the town's only, hit it a couple times, really. And it's not a lot of lots there either, not a lot of people on it, it's.
It helps it hold up. doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, so for not too many lots, not too many people, built right, gravel, it can hold up pretty good. But I know that these roads were not built even to the gravel standard, a lot of these that you're getting called on, because I've seen
Well, and I
them.
think drainage,
Yeah.
They didn't have drainage. We were
They're-
required to put drainage.
yeah,
I had to put in, 2
Culverts.
culverts, yeah. Some of those were done without culverts and stuff like that. But if you make it pretty high standard on the gravel road, I believe they can hold up pretty good. So,
That's an important point, that there's not, that you don't give leeway on drainage issues
Right.
for these.
Right.
I do have a question, though, and I'm not disagreeing with Commissioner Huppert's, but I'm just wondering about marketing of houses on gravel roads. I would like to
Well-
hear from someone who's kind of up on what the current thing is, because I can tell you that if I were buying today, if the road wasn't at least chip sealed, it would not be on my list.
well, actually, I almost wonder if, they're basing funding on it, like mortgages.
Oh, boy.
Because we've had
interesting.
quite a few banks calling, wanting to know if such and such address is that road is maintained by the town, or if it's a private road, and it's a bank that's calling us.
that's interesting.
So I'm kind of wondering if they are changing things,
Well, that
as
would
far
be-
as that, to see, what it's worth. A house may be worth more if it's on a town-maintained road than a private-maintained road.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah.
other thing that we have to think about is there is such a push right now, or a desire, I should say, for the manufactured home market. I'm telling you guys, it's coming, and these big chunks of land. If it wasn't for me saying about the design standards and having to beef up a road, and we would have about 100 manufactured homes in an area.
You know what we may want to include in here, then, as I look at this, and it may be in here and I'm missing it. We don't seem to talk about adequate crown on a road. In this area, I don't know, 2%, something like that. We should probably specify it. Cul-de-sac, or not cul-de-sacs.
Culverts.
Culverts are not specified in here. And I know that the standards with the state changed, that makes putting a culvert in at something like Lacey or My Road prohibitive, because now they have to be great big ones set in cement, like you see at Raven Court. And a little dead-end road with 9 families on it can't afford that. So what you end up with is nothing. So I don't know, I mean, maybe we want to look at covenants for what those things required and borrow some of the language from those.
I don't know why culverts aren't in here, because I was made to put culverts in mine.
That's under the grading and draining.
Yeah.
It's under the grading and
And we
drainage.
want to
Okay.
reference it.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's
then
a
it would
good
be
point.
referenced, okay.
yeah.
So,
And they have to be maintained. Like you go around town, there's, what was it, Aspen we looked at, that, more than half of the culverts were not functional.
right.
Mhm.
We've got one on Madole, and the guy will not maintain his culverts, and it dumps on his neighbors down the
Yeah, I've got
road.
one too.
Yeah.
I've got somebody putting a horse pen in their yard who refuses to repair their culvert first because they have this master plan in their head to reposition the driveway and I'll do it then, but that could be several years from now. So it probably needs to be in here somehow, either by reference or right in here, crown and culverts.
Right.
Would
The other
be
thing is, we need to also have something put in there that, and this is a stretch, we're kind of waiting for Randy to weigh in on this, about going back to a past subdivision and make sure that that turnaround radius is where it is supposed to be, and the road is as wide as it's supposed to be according to what the plat is. Because what happens is they just keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking if they're not maintaining their road, which a lot of these private roads they're not.
Right.
Right.
Having something in there where it's something that we can actually, for lack of a better word, police.
Yeah, if vegetation reclaims the road, that doesn't
Right.
mean it's your vegetation.
Yeah.
And the town better stay off of it.
Yeah.
It's still the road.
I misspoke earlier. It wouldn't have been 100 manufactured homes, it would have been 50, because it's an R2. 100 acres, R2, want to do the whole thing.
Well, in here,
But
we're,
they didn't want to put roads, or they didn't know they had
No. Well, first of all, it was, they didn't want to put any infrastructure, so they wanted to do all wells. And I said, well, that's not going to fly.
Wow.
No.
Gee.
So he was like, well, I'll call the state engineer's office, and I was like, that's fine. I said, but the other thing you're gonna have to do, and I started explaining the design standards, and I said, not only that, I said, you're putting this subdivision off of a road that is not even up to our design standards, you'll have to fix that road.
Bring it up, yeah.
And so then, that was the end of that.
Right.
Yeah?
Well, this doesn't require pavement until 10 units served, right? That's where it kicks in.
That, according to this,
It's base course.
0 to 5.
Yeah, base course.
0 to 29 right
Yeah,
now.
but look up. It's base course.
Okay.
Minimum driving surface in feet, 20 to 22 feet of base course. You don't hit asphalt until you get to 10 units.
And I think, honestly, if you're doing 10, I don't think that's a bad thing to ask for pavement.
Well, I think that's fair,
Yeah.
at 10.
Yeah, and it had been 60. I mean,
Yeah.
making
Oh, I
quite a-
see, I've been reading this wrong. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a hard sell, for sure.
I know, even at 10, it's gonna be what?
Yeah.
Because a lot of things went in that were below that 60 threshold, and there was no need to pave, and we're feeling the crunch now.
Right. So if we do take this forward in the next few months or so, I'm going to go out and get pictures of every single subdivision that has been left for these
Yeah.
people to try to fix.
A road with
Right,
a tail light warranty, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I have driven, okay.
I just wanted to ask, do you have any feel for how many approved subdivisions there are that have never even been started? Or maybe maybe have just a handful, like 5 or fewer?
Good point.
I know of one for sure that didn't get finished, that have sold lots like they're finished. But,
There's Murray Road, I think that was proposed as like 59.
Right. And I think there was one over on Bassett Road, too.
Yes, that was kind of
Huge.
a grand plan, it was mixed use, wasn't it?
It
It had
was,
some commercial areas in it.
right. And now it's got like 15 different owners now.
yeah.
There's probably quite a few out there.
And I think, isn't there one at the end of, is it Burke or Birch? You go
Oh,
down-
yeah.
Go down Birch and you
Oh,
keep
yeah.
going and it's all just,
Dug-
there's
yeah.
road there, but it's all empty.
Yeah.
Looks like it was gonna develop, so.
There's Raven's Roost. That's been approved. Road, and that's one where I suspect that the road is getting narrower.
It is, I walk it now and then to pick up golf balls.
So that one was approved.
Somebody's
in-
golfing into that
They
area.
get narrow, they get more narrow.
Whacking them from their yard up above it.
I did drive in some subdivisions south of Edgewood last Saturday, went to a few yard sales, because I killed some time, and I actually discovered there was several subdivisions had pavement.
Huh.
Oh, yeah.
Really were, and so I'd be curious to see how well, I think something to find out might be how did that land sell with the pavement, if we could somehow get some information on those subdivisions, it might be interesting. What the lots sold for, were they able to, how easily were they able to sell them?
Yeah,
Or
that's a
they
good
sell
point.
easier because they had the
Good
pavement.
selling point.
That might be, but they do come onto pavement, they're not coming onto a gravel road, so.
So
Yeah.
would chip seal be allowed in here in any way?
I kind of was thinking chip seal from 6 to 9, but
That's what I had on here, yeah.
I would like to see an allowance for chip seal because it is a lot lower of an initial investment, and as long
Yeah.
as it's maintained.
Unless it's a variance that somebody requests, I don't know. If there's a way to do it, either, stipulated in the standards or get ready for someone to make a request. Either way.
yeah.
I think of what is the development that is south of Dinkle? I can never keep my development names right. Tierra, whatever the heck. It's.
Where Juan lives, yeah.
Down here.
Tierra Vista,
Tierra Vista,
That's,
maybe.
that's all chip seal, I think.
I think so.
And it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
I thought it was pavement.
I think one side is pavement and then the other one is chip seal maybe.
I think when they did all of those, they did chip seal everywhere except on that portion of South Horton, and that was because of the excessive grade. They were worried about emergency access,
Huh.
that they didn't think chip seal was adequate, so.
Lynch, is that the name of it? I think it's county, though. Lynch or Bachelor or one of those.
They did
has
their own
chips.
thing, didn't they?
Yeah.
It does look like milled asphalt that came from somewhere.
It was county.
Well, what else on this? Anything else? We're just gonna kick it around
Yeah,
for a few minutes,
I think so.
massage it into place. Okay.
Yeah. That's the way we roll.
That's what we do. That's how we roll.
Yep.
Takes us a while.
We'll chew on it till we come full circle.
Yeah,
and then
we
we'll-
go, oh my
Sometimes we come all the
gosh.
way back around and do something different.
Until we're all sitting here going, no, I got nothing else. And then we know we're done.
Oh.
All right, so should we move on to item 5 in that case?
Yes.
Another discussion item. This has to do with residential services versus mixed use. So if you will take a look in your packets at item 5.
I don't understand this one.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
one
where are you
just
going
came
with
out
I
of
don't
left
understand what
field.
this is
Okay.
about at all.
I
read
just-
this all through, and it left me feeling befuddled and
I knew it would. I just
frustrated.
thought, I'm going to see how much I can confuse these guys.
Everything,
So-
it's like every ordinance in this town says day nurseries and
I know, right? It's like, what?
offices for the barber, and, it's all barber shops.
There's a lot of barbers,
beauticians, and
apparently, there's a lot
nursery
of
schools.
plan for them. So, okay, RS has been the transitional zone, okay? So what would you think about in RS plugging in, allowing under conditional use for duplexes? What I
Absolutely.
realized was duplexes are not scary, but everyone's scared to death of MU. And I think duplexes would do well out here,
I think so, too.
and I think that RS would be a good fit for them. So
Sense.
we've got a zone change coming that has scared the hell out of a group of people because it's MU. But the idea is not scary, but MU
The
is
zoning
scary.
is.
Yeah,
See, and I keep thinking in terms of what kind of people does that zone attract who want to live there? Is it younger families, conceivably? And then what do they want? If you're going to have commercial businesses there that are focused at serving them, not serving people who drive in from elsewhere, what is it they really want and need? And we never mention, like, food,
right.
a convenience store, Subway, or whatever. And I always think of that one area up Tramway that has like a little strip mall in front of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's mixed use or not, but it certainly looks like it could be.
Yeah.
So you're going to build something, or you're going to make a zone in a way that attracts somebody who wants to build something, that attracts a certain kind of resident. what do those residents want?
Yeah.
I look at what we have now and it looks kind of out of step.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like
Right.
outdated.
The permitted
I
and
agree.
conditional uses need some tweaking.
Yes.
But
So-
I think allowing duplexes in that would be a good idea.
Well,
Yep.
it would
I
fit
think it
in
would
with any
be-
of these other things
Yeah,
that
I
we
think so,
put
too.
there.
Good. Hi. Yes. Oh, no.
Yeah. RS might be a better place for things like duplex.
It's up there.
Would they also be in multiple use? Would it, I mean, it's in multiple use now, right? Things like duplexes are
Yeah,
in multiple
it
use.
is. There's no other place for them. So I thought, gosh, I think that's a perfect spot for them since it's a transitional type zone anyway.
Right.
Right. Well, this,
If you can have businesses.
Mm-hmm.
well, this raises a question too about maybe allowing clustering of all the buildings to reduce infrastructure costs for installation and to promote the walkability.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know these things get proposed all over the place, but I've always, in my head, pictured them closer to arterial roads and highways and park and rides and things that are walkable, that
Yeah.
you're conceivably talking about retirees and younger families that aren't yet ready to buy something bigger.
Right.
than
Mm-hmm.
this. And they share rides, they work in other places. So
I'd
it's
like,
not the kind of thing you would put 3 miles outside of town
Right.
necessarily.
Yeah.
I like what Gwen said about having them close to the main roads. But I think in something like this and in the MU, you want to look at walkability very
Yeah.
carefully.
Yeah.
And I know that there's going to be some heartburn about the cluster concept, which is, there's still, I think, going to be a predominance of the large lots with the house set in the middle of it. But I think for these smaller things, for younger and older families, it'd be easier to get out, if everything's clustered together.
Yeah.
And you can put your open space then as a buffer. You can still keep the lot requirements,
Right.
but kind of fan the open space so you have a buffer between the larger lot.
Well, and harken back to the comprehensive plan that says one of our goals is to offer a mix of housing options. You can't then in the same breath say, as long as everything's bigger than 1 acre.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, that makes no sense. Those
Yeah.
things don't fit together.
So that's what this was about. I just wanted to show you the comparison of the two and how I think we need to stick that someplace else.
Right. Do you see a need for both of these? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they almost seem like.
Go
I,
ahead.
I was vacationing next to a place that was kind of high-end, and it was kind of like townhomes, but it was duplexes. It was 2 stories, and they shared a wall, and then a big space, and then another one of those, then a big space. So those would actually be like duplexes,
Yeah.
I
and
have
then
relatives in Lakewood.
a space and another duplex, and they were right on the water in Coeur d'Alene, so they were
Yeah.
kind of high-end.
Yeah.
But I thought that's kind of a cool thing, because it doesn't look at all like having a big apartment building.
Right.
Right.
It's like having an apartment building that you kind of split up, and it looks much nicer, and it's probably nicer for the people living there.
Yeah.
Would that be considered duplexes or condos?
Well, I think that would be more considered condos or townhomes, which a duplex shares a wall. But what I was kind of looking at in my head was having in RS a duplex allowed, but only having like 1 duplex allowed. You know what I mean? Per lot. Just because of the way our town is set up. We don't have a downtown area. So when you think of walkability, our walkability is kind of lengthy. you know?
Yes.
So, I think it would just depend on, you know, where it was stuck at. Because like where we have RS right now, that nothing happened to because it was RS, the vet clinic that never came.
Yeah, this is up north.
Right. Duplex there wouldn't
Doesn't
really
make
make a whole lot of
Not
sense.
close to anything there.
Yeah. But maybe, maybe so think about equestrian park. So you have those lots that are right next to the highway, and nobody really wants to live by next to the highway, but they might rent a duplex next to the highway. So that's more of a transition into a subdivision.
Are you talking about the area that's east of the fence in Equestrian Park? What is
Yeah,
it?
just like when you're driving in, there's,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a lot on each side or
Yeah, there is. What-
yeah.
I've forgotten what the zoning is on that. Do you?
it's our,
Where's Equestrian Park?
I thought it was commercial.
yeah, that,
C2.
why is
Oh,
that
it's nor-
commercial?
It's north? Way
Because
north?
that's what they wanted.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would you have commercial way out there?
Yes, it's right
Is that
here.
Western Park? or
Well,
is that-
Anyhow.
Is that that lot by the water tank?
It's almost to Frost
This is like what we're talking about.
C2.
on the
Oh,
west
yeah.
side.
Yeah,
Oh, I know where the double wides are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was supposed to be stick-built, but
This is the one I was thinking of. It was
Yeah, C1.
Kind of old controversy.
Yeah. But you can see where you've got RS, like. There's not a lot,
And there's,
there's not a lot, but there's like one bloop up there.
up here, I
Yep.
remember her, yeah, the woman who,
But look where they're at. They're along 344.
right.
So, so anyway, that's what, that's why I brought that in. I thought, well, just something to think about because I think MU's too big of an animal to keep duplex housed in that.
right. Do you see a use, though, for both categories
Yes.
down the road?
It's like I can't differentiate them very good.
No, I
My
had trouble
mind.
with it too.
It is, it's kind of, I think we could do a better job of distinguishing them.
It's like RS is the more permissive one, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're putting more, you can put more
MU is
businesses.
Has multifamily.
Right, a more specialized version.
Yeah.
But I think it could be worded in the permissive and conditional uses maybe could be clarified a little bit.
Yeah, the lists look very similar, and it's nursery schools and.
Yeah.
I know, that's
Yeah,
why
I
it's
think
hard-
we
it's
should
hard.
update it, don't you?
Yeah, they both need updated because they're hard to distinguish, and
Yeah.
I can't get my mind around them
Right.
very good.
All right, so we'll start looking at that, updating that. and
Okay.
Maybe playing around with that a little
Till the
bit.
snow flies. or
Yeah.
A little bit beyond.
This is our winter project
There you go.
packet.
I like it.
Well, they need to be where we can really distinguish them, and they almost run together right now, to
They
me.
do, they are very hard
Of
to
course,
tell
they're
apart.
prohibited. That's great.
Are we done with that one?
I think so. Yep.
So we have one more discussion item. This is the Commissioner's Reference Guide that we've looked at a couple times, item 6. And my guess would be that this is finalizing, is it?
No,
No? Okay,
this takes us to page 20, well, really 23.
just being optimistic.
Because 24 is for notes. But,
Okay.
so I highlighted on number 8 on page 16.
Yep. You've got an important word missing in there.
Yes, I was gonna see if anybody could catch the word that we are missing there.
I noticed that right away.
Yep. When I kept reading that over and over again, I was like, oh dear, this is not good.
I had the benefit of the original
Yeah.
still on my computer because I thought, no, this
Yeah,
isn't
this is
right.
not right.
No, 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 no.
Anybody want to take a guess at what word's missing?
It's a missing word?
There's a
There's a
missing word.
word,
It's a
an
very
important
important
word.
missing word.
Is it not?
It is.
Oh, because we have it is proper. You know, I did read that wrong. I did read that last night, I think.
Reading that first
Yeah.
sentence.
It is, I think I did think about that last night,
can't
but I
be
kind of
right.
forgot.
Yeah.
Not proper. It is not.
It is not proper.
It is not
it
proper.
proper.
Yeah, because when you read it, when you're like, it's proper, no, it's not.
It's proper to have ex parte communication about something before you go into a public hearing about it.
Yes, sirree.
No, not here anyway. No.
Yeah, so that was that. And then it just went on. I highlighted the whole section,
Okay.
but that's what I was looking for. Really, I don't think there's anything really to change in this section. It all is right, unless there's anything you guys want to add or subtract, but
And then we're inserting planning and zoning official.
yes.
Changing that
Yeah,
from the old language.
Keep in mind, you might live where you drive right by that property.
Right.
And you're gonna, you shouldn't drive into the property, but you may see the property.
you'll probably see it. Yeah, I'm sure.
You know,
with
you
the
know, well, I
town
mean, it's
side.
something
So
we
you
on
have to cover your
344,
eyes.
we're gonna
Yeah.
all know where it
Now,
exists.
you gotta
know.
drive
Cover
blind
your
down the
eyes
road,
when you
Cheryl.
drive.
I would just keep in mind that, you know, that's
Well, you don't want, what you don't want to do is pull into the driveway
pull in.
or
I
park.
mean, do we need
Get
to
out
make
and
that
start
more,
measuring.
do we need to make it more specific is kind of what I'm trying to say.
That's a
'cause,
good point, yeah.
Do not enter or travel to a property. Well, you may be traveling, but it's okay to travel by the property because you drive by it because that's how you have to go
Yeah,
somewhere.
it's travel
See what I
to
mean?
that is the,
Right.
I mean, that means to pull in the driveway and stop. Define, is what I'm trying to say.
Yep, to a property. Yeah,
Don't intentionally look at that.
not enter or travel to.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to
Do
do.
not enter or travel to.
Because in a small town, that's liable to happen.
yeah.
In Albuquerque, not so much necessarily, so.
Okay. So what happened to the standard for note-taking? I forget the gentleman's name from,
Mina. I took
Seattle.
Mina out.
Nina's gone.
Mina's gone.
Mina's gone.
I don't think we should scratch that. We
You
have
got
good
canned.
notes, I think, and we should just follow through.
Yeah, I talked to Juan and Carla about it and asked them about Mina. They didn't know Mina, so we took her out.
We don't know about it. Nobody knows
Yeah.
about it. I can't see having it in there. And I'm sure I'll never know about it.
Yeah, but you know, that really good training we had with Randy Van Vleck about the minutes, that was phenomenal.
Yes.
Really helpful to you?
Yes.
And you're,
Well, I think, you know, our minutes, unless we have, it's different for planning and zoning, because when we have a quasi judicial hearing, we have to have a lot of detail in there, because that's the record.
yeah.
But as far as the governing body minutes, they really only need action minutes. They don't need
Yeah.
Everybody's
all that
comment in
extra
there,
stuff.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, that was
No.
good that he made that clear.
Yeah,
I like
Yeah.
that.
yeah, that was a really good training.
It was very much worth it, and thank you. It was well organized, too.
Yeah.
It was good. Very helpful.
So, yeah, if you guys see anything else you want me to change in here, I think it's all pretty good.
One thing you might want to be thinking about is the formatting of the document. Originally, and I know over time that changes, we had it set up so that there was space for note-taking. Had blank, white space
Yeah,
opposite the text.
and I tried to keep that in there.
And you're doing
Yeah.
that. But I'd like to kind of keep that in mind when we're ready to do the final project. Because the whole thing was designed originally so that every commissioner could add their own notes.
Okay.
Things that were important to them
Okay,
about these issues, so. Because the idea with that, and I think Mayor is wanting us to keep it with it, is to make your copy yours. It's your reference to things, and it's going to be different for everyone.
I got a question.
okay.
If we've got something coming up about a certain property, and we see it when you send us out our information, and it's got the address and everything. Now, if I was to go on, like, Google Maps and look at it, just so I'm familiar with where it is and all that, if I don't talk to anybody else about what I saw, is that okay, or should I not even, like,
No, I think that's fine because most of the time I try to put a Google map in there anyway.
Right.
So that it would be the same thing as that. As long as you're not discussing it with anybody or not driving out there,
Right.
I think it's fine.
We might want to put that on there. It's okay to look at a Google map,
Right.
so that we know that's okay.
I don't know, though, you get a lawyer looking at it, and they
That's
might,
Leave it
true.
alone.
Yeah.
Might look
Sometimes
at
the
it
Google
differently.
map in our packet, I mean, we have a map from like the assessor, but they're not the most legible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sometimes go to the one that's easier to read.
right. And, but I think we probably don't want to codify it for
Right.
obvious reasons. But that raises a question, though, about the important thing about ex parte, that, at least this is my understanding from having listened to several lawyers go over it, is you want to avoid a situation where you have information that was not available to other people. You see, and so if you go by yourself to visit, or you talk to the applicant, or you talk to the neighbor who's opposed to it, and have a private conversation, that's not on the record, and none of the rest of the board had access to it. The Google Maps thing, I mean, even fifth graders on their phone have access to Google Maps. So that, I think if you go and look at it just to get, better
Right.
resolution, that's not a
I
problem.
Well,
get
it's clear
I
the
get a
intent
better idea. If somebody wants to like, put a auto business or something on their property, you look at it at Google Maps, and here in Edgewood, everybody around you might have 5 acres, and there's not gonna be anybody within like 300 yards in this shop. Or it could be the neighbors are like right up against it, and you get a much clearer picture just kind of getting an aerial view of the lot.
Instead of just the,
The picture
just
that's
the piece
given
of
to us
property.
in
Well,
the
Yeah.
It might affect the neighbors, because you can kind of see where the neighbors are
Right.
sitting next to that lot.
Yeah.
Well, Tanya, could you maybe do something like they do on plats, where they have the vicinity map that zooms out a little bit and gives you a little more of a bird's eye view of where the platted
Sure. Yeah.
question is? If you could even do that, that might help.
Yeah.
I do that with my lame little plus and minus button in the PDF
Yeah.
Yeah.
to try and get a sense of it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to jump in a car and drive there, but, I do want to know what part of town it's in,
Yeah.
because it makes a difference when you think about zoning.
If we had a drone, we could- planning and zoning drone.
Oh, yes. Zoning drone, huh?
Yeah.
Get a-
Now, Tanya, I have one thing for you.
Okay.
When we go into hearings, I'm always using 2 scripts.
Okay.
This one's, and I added to this one, this one matches what's in your reference guide.
Okay.
I request certification that public notice this hearing's been posted. This case being heard under provisions, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What I have added is, once you say, have everybody stand up to be sworn, it doesn't tell you what to say to them. So I added, rather than having people make it up, I found one elsewhere, and that's what I use. Do
Okay.
you solemnly swear or affirm that the responses given and statements made in this blah, 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 blah? Answer, I do. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Bible involved, there's no,
Yeah.
any ceremony, it's just very simple.
Okay.
But I had to
like
add
that. Yeah, we can add that in there.
Another item, I don't know where I stumbled on this, is the flow.
Yeah, that's just,
I think the mayor gave you that, didn't he?
yeah.
Or did you?
But it's useful,
Yeah,
at least for a chair. So I can keep this secret
you can.
in like, a gilded box.
Your own
that I-
secret stash.
Well,
Yeah.
though, when this was first floated, Glenn, the idea was that sometimes you would actually hand those out, particularly if you had a contentious hearing,
Yeah,
so that people would know that you are going to get a chance to talk.
yeah, so what, the title of this thing is a suggested order of process.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But I use it all the time to keep myself on track. And I wonder if it, for chairs and vice chairs, who will occasionally, oversee a public hearing,
Yeah,
if it needs to be part of the reference guide.
Probably should.
yeah, I think,
I'll
yeah.
I'll scan it and send it to you,
Okay, yeah, do.
take a look at
I
it.
will.
If there's a way to work it in, or parts of it, or whatever.
Well, and you know, at small hearings, when there's just like a handful of people, you probably wouldn't need to hand it out.
Right.
But I think that was a suggestion from the AG's office, that for large contentious matters, that if you have that available for people to
Sure.
know, it will also stop the thing of people trying to reopen the testimony phase of the hearing.
Yes.
And that is a real problem, ongoing,
Yes.
has
Yep.
been.
I think, Glenn, too, don't you tell people this is what we're going to do, you're going to have a chance to talk to them.
I do
You're going
give
to have
them
a
a little
chance, and then you get to
preamble.
come back, and that way
I
they
try to
kinda-
explain to people that we're now serving as a jury and ultimately a judge, and the process is like this. You guys will talk, then you guys get to talk. But I keep myself on track with this to make sure I'm not missing anything
Yeah.
as I go.
Yeah, I think that's good.
So I'll send it on to you, maybe you
Okay.
can include it somewhere.
Sure.
That's why these are laminated, because they're sort of holy.
Okay.
I don't want them to get
Well, you don't want to
water
get,
damaged.
well, you don't want to get lost in a hearing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one thing too, that's very detailed. What Glenn is using is detailed for a reason. And what you might want to do is, if you thought there was going to be a hearing, there was going to be a problem, is that we come up with a kind of a condensed version
Sure.
that could hand out and make available to people so that they
Yeah.
would know. Because the main thing that they need to know is that once public testimony is closed, it's closed.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, you're done.
Yeah.
And you could even do it, you know, you don't have to go into great detail. You could say, opening, you know,
Right.
applicant speaks, da, 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 da. And when you get to closed, put a big row of asterisks or something.
Yeah.
Close,
And
and they
then-
don't can't talk anymore.
Right, and then what happens next?
Yeah.
Because I personally have seen several hearings just go sideways into
Back
the
and
ditch.
forth. yeah.
When they start to go, it's like somebody goes, oh, I forgot, I
Yeah,
forgot,
but
I
another
forgot to tell
thing.
you. And it's very hard to say no. And we found out from Randy Van Vleck years ago that that's not uncommon.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why this was put in, is to keep the hearings.
Yeah.
Keep it
I
crisp.
think a handout would be a good idea.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, Wendy, sure.
Okay.
And maybe think about what they want to say before it's over.
Anything else on that one?
No, I think that's it. I'll make the changes and add that and,
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Use what you want to. from it.
okay. Sounds good. All right, cool.
At some point, too, I think we need to talk a little bit, and I don't know if it's appropriate here, and I'll save it. Never mind. I'll save it for later in the agenda.
Okay.
It doesn't protect.
So that brings us to item 7, public comment. Do we have anyone signed in for public comment?
Do you want?
Did you come
I'm
for
sorry?
public comment?
Well, why don't you sign in there? Give us your name, and we'll turn our attention to hearing your comments. And I appreciate you coming in. Too often, we're here with an empty room,
Right.
unless it's a public hearing. Okay, so we have Donald, is it Delarde? DeHardy. Donald DeHardy, come on up and let us know what's on your mind.
Hopefully in the right forum to even ask the question. I believe I am. I was looking to find out where we stand on the proposed, discussed paving of Appaloosa. In the springtime, I met with several people that are here, my business folks, and we rode through, at least up to Appaloosa as far as I could. Oh, it was the first place that we went. They recognize that it's a very major used access road through that neighborhood. Buses, personal vehicles have to go through there, police vehicles, fire department vehicles have to go there. And tonight, it's super muddy. When it's not super muddy, it's super dry, and anytime anybody drives over it, it's dusty and it blows in the air. And I talked to the FedEx person who happened to come through today, delivered something for me. I asked him if they had a requirement types of roads. Back where I came from Tennessee, postal vehicles weren't allowed to ride on any road that wasn't paved. This is damages to tires, there's bad things to the suspension. If you ride up and down that road right now, at the foot of the road where it meets Edgewood 7, which is the other side of 344, it's like a washboard all the time. They come by and they scrape it every third Thursday of the month, but all that does is when they scrape, the gravel pushes off this side, pushes off that side. All the gravel's in the ditch. There's nothing but mud on the roads now. There's a small up in there, and I think they tried to coax it in as they do it, but most of the gravel in the ditch. I had heard that there is already a recognized plan to pave Horton Road. I drove that this evening in time here. And it needs, I recommend, it's terrible, from where it passes the open area and then turns and comes down to Dinkle Road. It's all gravel, it's all pitted, it's every bit as bad as our road. And so, but surely in the budget, there's room for more than one road to be paved a year. And it has been a year, I think, that we've been discussing this. So I was curious to know, is there a problem with funding? Is there a problem with just decision-making? It was on, as far as I remember from the previous agendas, the first to be paved in the listing in the previous meeting. And so I'm curious to know.
So if you want to hang tight, Tim just went to get Carla. She is the answer guru of all roads. But I can tell you this, Horton is going to be paved, I believe, starting, I think they're putting up all the signs and everything on Thursday. And then they're going straight to church after that. Those were two roads that were already in the works.
Those were last year's funding.
Yeah.
Last year's, right.
And as far as budgetary, it is so expensive to pave. So, yes. And we ask for funds. It's called the ICIP, and that's where we ask for funding for roads. There's also another one that they,
Local Government Road Fund and.
yeah,
Well,
and MAP.
MAP is another one.
Yeah, but that's in
They're like,
Ontario.
they're, huh?
State,
State.
State.
The state. Yeah, so every
The
year,
town
the
doesn't
state
have it.
legislature says to towns, what is it you want to build? And you can't propose something that isn't something you're going to build, right? You can't say, well, I want to hire 5 new firefighters.
Thank you.
It has to be like a brick and mortar thing, and that request comes from the town council to the state.
This council.
No, the town council.
We're the recommending
Mayor,
body.
City council. We are a recommending body, so we looked at your road and a bunch of others, and then we tell the town council what we think they should ask the state for.
And that's the report.
Right,
That's the report the planning and zoning commission did.
right.
They put out what is the council list.
We did indeed.
We did.
We
But
did, yeah.
Carla, you might explain a little bit how the road funding goes, because people think that there's a big pot of money sitting in the town coffers to pave. I wish it were true. I wish it
Yeah.
were true.
It's
but-
about $1 million a mile to pave.
I don't know, I mean, Church Road and Important have been on that list for years, and they're finally now getting funded, so those will be the next 2 paving projects funding already in place for both of them. The town council has an ICIP process where they develop what capital projects they want to go after next, and they always put roads on that list. So every year we'll go to the legislature and ask for funding for certain paving projects, and then we always apply for local government road funds. This year we turned in 7 applications for chip seal, and we got accepted for one of them, and it's on Edgewood 7. Yeah. So it's just a matter of going after the money at this point. Your road's been identified. We will certainly keep turning in applications for it. Kind of a long process.
Yeah.
But it's on the list, and we're looking for funding. It's the easiest way to play it.
All of the funding has to come from state.
No, I mean,
No.
we can allocate our own funds to approve of
Yeah.
what our road department does in that case. Because he usually spends the majority of the requirements, the material we can put on the road.
Well, the other way paving's been done is by issuing a bond. You know, if people are willing to pay tax, property tax, to pave roads, Yeah. yeah. I mean, we've done a few of them that way.
That was the only way. I thought that it was done by tax notice.
No, there are other ways, but,
State also provides you,
yeah,
Yeah.
but raising taxes is kind of a hard sell.
There is an option for special assessment districts, though, isn't
True,
there?
that's true.
You can identify a geographical area, and then you can, I think, call for a vote of the property owners in the area. So that is a funding method. I don't know,
That's like taxing yourselves.
basically.
Yeah, basically, you'd have a group of people get together and say,
it's worth it to us.
yeah, to kick in something.
And if you look at that,
To fund it.
But at least this commission was pretty highly focused on Appaloosa and steeplechase.
We were.
We gave those two high priority.
Yeah,
Right.
That really is probably the next area that we need around.
right.
Oh, definitely.
And it joins with an evacuation route. You know, we're very cognizant of that we paved roads to your north as part of the idea of getting people out in the event of a fire in that area, let's say. And it doesn't make sense to have people struggling to get through the mud up Steeplechase and Appaloosa to get to the evacuation route.
I will say, we did get a very small allocation this year from capital outlay to start the, just the planning of steeplechase.
Mm.
$50,000. So, yes, that is the area we want to concentrate.
Yeah, and Steeplechase has a drainage problem.
Yeah.
Not a, not a debilitating problem, but it's an area that needs special care because it's so steep.
Yeah, the steepness, yeah.
So you're definitely high on our list, and the council then makes the request to the legislature, not us.
I realized there had to be a plan commission to see whether or not there is, what's under the road. We're going to plan according to that, make sure they're going to tear anything up as they put it.
Oh, like utilities and stuff?
Yeah.
That's pretty standard.
Yep.
That comes with
Yep.
There's a,
planning.
city planner or somebody that has architect that does. Pavers.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, our folks, you would be aware of that stuff. And we
Norton,
can,
yeah,
They would pull all those easements anyway.
yeah.
Right.
We have an engineering firm.
Pushing all the easements.
in the meantime, if there's anything that can be done to get that gravel out of the ditch, I don't know.
I don't know either. I think your best bet is to come to the council meetings and just let your voice be heard. So the next one's on the 18th, next week, next Wednesday, here at 6:30. And
Bring more neighbors.
bring more neighbors.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
and-
gonna say,
I
Highly
remember
Crossing
your
did.
road. You have a couple of problems. One is you have very little bar ditch or none in certain
Yeah.
areas. Those need to be deeper. You need to pull material up there. You probably need more gravel on it. But you also have a number of non-functioning culverts.
Right. We
That-
have clean hours out.
Yeah, yeah, and I clean mine out too. So I would say, you got to take a multi-pronged approach and just be reassured that you are high on our list.
How was the crown out there? Was
Huh?
there even a crown?
No, not really.
Yeah.
In most places, it's not.
Yeah,
It's pretty flat, or it's
like
even.
that,
got
yeah.
a lot of traffic on it.
Flailed.
Flat to the road in some spots because the gravel was pushed out and filled the ditches to the point they raised up.
That's right.
Oh,
Into the
gosh,
culverts,
yeah.
into the driveways. And that's what we had to do. We
Yeah.
reached in and dug those out to allow. more-
Yeah, there's places where it's concave, and now the water's going to flow down the road, because it's the drainage ditch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here, I have a paper right here.
My road gets there too, and I have to talk my neighbors into kicking in some money. We're still a private road. The town doesn't do anything for us.
Right.
And it's a hard sell, but every few years, people are willing to kick in, and we dig those ditches deep, and we put as much gravel on as we can afford. And I put up a sign that said speed limit 10 miles an hour, and I have neighbors who drive fast just because my sign pissed them off.
Well, that was part of the other description about that, because we do have, it's a neighborhood where we've got, buses run through because we have families with small children getting on buses. There was one event where a guy was pulled up and stopped behind the bus and then turned around and passed right on past the bus.
Gee.
Oh, yeah.
We were inclined to ask if they could include the speed humps, not just speed bumps, but humps, if they did such a thing. I don't know if that's.
The lawyers will probably naysay that. They've tried that in the
A
past.
lot of tort claims.
Fire department, it's the
Right.
police department, it's the road department, it's everybody who has to go over those.
Right.
At a certain speed, the fire department always has a problem with.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
They gotta get somewhere.
Yeah.
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 There was a fairly extensive discussion when they paved Williams Ranch Road several years, 2011, 2012, and they tried every way they could, and they got so many negative comments. And then the lawyers came in and said it's a liability issue too. So someone goes out of control, so.
Except along the lines of speed limits marked down to 10, 15, which would be great for everybody who lives out there.
But there's nothing to prevent you from writing down the license plate of somebody who speeds by a
Yes.
school
Yeah.
bus.
Right.
Because it's probably
Oh, yeah.
somebody knows.
Yeah.
really good idea.
And that's important. Can I ask you a question, sir? The town recently got a second water truck, and I was wondering if you've noticed any improvement on the washboarding since they've been using the second truck, so, okay. You might, yeah,
It's just, actually, even, they never really at the foot of the road where it meets Edgewood 7, on either side of the road, they never really get the blades down to smooth that part out.
Yeah.
To pull
Right.
it up,
Right.
fill it in, level it out. It stays washboard all the time.
Yeah, and that's speed, and it's probably also people coming in off Edgewood 7 at a high speed, and they,
that causes it.
yes,
Yeah.
they contour the road this way, and they throw the gravel to the south.
I felt the same thing as I said, I rode Horton Road on the way over here this evening, and it's got the same washboard effect.
Yeah.
In
Yep.
some spots. I'm not really sure what causes that, I guess it has to do with blades and how we do.
Well, part of the problem has been that they'd only had one water truck, so that they come through, and by the time the truck goes and fills up again and comes back, it's dried out. So it's worked on
Right.
Square H and Madole, it's helped, but we do still have the
You'll also meet a
washboard.
lot of people who, people have a personal theory that when a road gets a little bit washboard,
Go
it's
fast.
important to drive really fast so that your vehicle doesn't go into the low spots.
I know.
Yes,
You fly
I have
over.
heard people espouse this theory
Yes.
a dozen times.
I have too.
There are people who absolutely believe it.
It'll shake your
That's
car.
one of the things to keep, truck tips.
Well, Church Road is washboard all the time.
Yep.
And they come, I think, twice a week. It's Church Road where Walmart is.
Yeah, to the south. of
I mean, they
Walmart.
come with that water truck twice, like it's 2 times a day each time they come. And then it's the blading, and it's once or twice a week, so that's the mile that is set to be paved, because it's high traffic. Yeah, it's very high.
Short,
What were you supposed to drive over those roads? Thanks for informing us.
Carla, do you know, I know Norton said a couple of weeks ago that he's getting new materials to put down on a lot of roads. Do you know where he is in that process of,
I don't.
if Appaloosa, is ready for?
At the very least, it'd be good to get them through.
Right.
Down, get the crown
Yeah, I
on
mean,
it.
if you're top of our paving list, you should be top of our gravel list too, right?
I'll follow up with
With some of the structural material they use, like crushed run, it's got a lot of dust still in it. If it's washed gravel, it usually doesn't have that type of thing, so at least it doesn't have the micro.
That's
We will
true.
take What we can get.
I hear you, yep.
And I appreciate you hearing.
Yeah, we appreciate you
Thank you.
coming in.
Thanks for
Thank you very
coming.
much.
Sorry
Come
you
back
had such a
again.
hard time finding us.
Well, I tried asking Siri on my iPhone. Guide me to 171 State Road 344. If she wants to send me to Albuquerque, she wants to.
Oh, my
Oh,
gosh.
She
no.
can't find it. The Google Maps, I don't think that would be much better.
Oh, no.
Yeah, GPS can be wrong out here too.
Yeah.
My neighbor didn't, yeah,
I know
know that.
same
That's
road,
surprising.
basically.
It's the same road.
Yeah.
change the number. and-
Right.
Yeah.
The only two places I saw is I finally figured out where I was going. I went to Pizza Hut, not
Pizza
Domino's,
Barn.
And looked on their map and asked them to.
Oh, my.
Delivering a pizza to one side.
That's smart.
Where would you guys work on this? They have a map and they knew they were going to deliver something up there. And so they told me it was here. And as I drove down here, the only two spots I saw signs that showed 344 is at the light by Denny's and the light at Lincoln.
Right.
The only two.
Yep, nothing in between.
Yeah, it's pretty,
Past the tunnel,
it's
down
dark.
to the-
Yeah.
Where the fire hall is, the new fire hall. Because I didn't see it back behind me.
Right.
And as I came back from there, I saw one little green sign this big that said town council.
Ah,
I had to know that they passed down that little side with those gates. So could use a little more signage for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, true.
We'll mention that.
Big old concrete signs that we are proudly wrapping.
Right, you're right.
Not a bad idea.
I think there is a sign, but the lights weren't on.
Yeah.
You might not have seen it.
Good use in that regard, too. We're having an open house on the 20th, so come, you'll know where every town building is.
Yeah,
Yes.
all the different businesses, the town offices will be open.
That building, which is the Independent, doesn't it also have a sign that says something about?
Used to be the library.
The town council is on that blue sign, I think, in the front of that, I went there last week.
Oh.
And
Oh,
they
it's-
run the- They had the Cowboy Church meets there on, I think I was there on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
thank you for having me.
All right.
Thank you.
for coming.
Thank
Come
you.
back soon.
It still says down.
All right.
We used to have lights on our sign, but somebody stole them.
Really?
Your little solar
Oh,
sign.
my gosh.
Oh, this, oh, man.
Surprised me.
Gee.
It disgusts me. That's just.
What a drag, huh?
It is, it is, it is low.
That is.
They stole the Wi-Fi at the park. Yep.
And the swing is the other part.
Yeah, at the
Yeah,
swing
I
and the
can
swing.
believe the
And the
swing
copper under
especially.
the interstate.
Oh, get that early on.
Yeah, I know.
But I have to have something really strong light, something concrete that they can't get to it, I guess.
Crazy.
Well, that's more argument for walking trails, so people see the Wi-Fi crooks. right?
Right.
More activity
Call
in
them,
here.
phone them in.
Yep.
That's sad.
Well, that brings us to matters from the chair and commissioners. We can start down the end there. Any updates on anything? News? No? Commissioner Herrera, anything in particular?
No, the only thing, my sister in Ohio is buying a duplex, and I thought about bringing that up, and you were giving us the introduction to, the design, or the, whatever it was.
Zoning.
Yeah, zoning. And it's a downstairs and an upstairs, so it's not, right next to each other. And it's just one floor downstairs and upstairs. So that's all I was going to say, was to instead of apartments, like having the separate units, so it didn't look like you had these, apartment buildings.
Yeah.
And so it got me thinking about that, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all I was.
Now, don't pay her a site visit, or, you'll be violating. No, just kidding.
In Ohio.
In Ohio, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at it
I
in
will be
Ohio.
checking it out when I go there now.
How it looks.
Commissioner Huppert's, anything, any updates?
I did want to ask, bring up something about our parliamentary procedures. I find it hard to start with a motion, how he said we should start with a motion. Of course, we're just discussing stuff.
Right.
But so I want to know how we're going to handle our meeting whenever we have someone come before us. Are we going to make a motion to accept their thing right away and then vote against it if we didn't like it? Or how are we going to handle that? That doesn't seem good to me.
It's up to you guys how you want to run it.
I would like to
but-
discuss how this, if we really, I can see it in council meetings, but I can't see it being used. Well, I observed the last council meeting. It was still a little awkward to me to watch that. With no discussion first, you just make a motion, but you might make a motion just to get it on the floor because it's on the agenda, but you don't even agree with it. Seems really odd to me.
I agree. I think it's backwards.
I
but-
wanted to kind of discuss that a little more that day, but it just got so long because I'm thinking, this may be right, but it just doesn't sit right with me.
I agree.
Is that what other
I don't know,
councils do?
I don't think there's, well, I think the council's a different animal.
Council's different than we are, because
I
we're just
think that
discussing this.
The
It
way
help-
we've been doing it is fine.
Yeah, well, I think the reason the council was wanting to do it was to better focus their discussions, because the discussions were
Getting out of control.
going off topic.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't think we're constrained to do it exactly like the
No.
council does.
I don't think so either.
And the thing too about converse motions,
They don't make sense. They don't make sense.
It would be
was
especially
hard- it was hard to
damaging in a
understand.
public hearing.
How come none of us
agree.
spoke up then?
Yeah, I've always, I don't know, the mayor and I went round and round, and then we kind of talked ourselves into it, and then I was like, no, then I started thinking about it again, it doesn't make sense.
I kind of have ethical scruples against making a motion for which I do not intend to vote. I'm sorry.
Agreed.
Because it makes a bad impression. The flip side of that, though, that's really difficult to deal with is that you have to vote, then you have to be aware that when it comes, if you make a motion to deny, you have to know that an aye vote is a vote on the motion, not the application. Okay?
Yes, I remember him
Right.
saying that.
Right.
Yeah.
So your aye vote is in line with your motion to deny.
Deny.
That could get confusing.
And it can confuse the audience, and it can and has confused members of the town council in the
Yes.
past.
Yeah.
And the thing was, though, is that sometimes people have used it, how do I want
So people don't know how they're voting?
Exactly, with the intent to confuse, which I think is also unethical. But to me, and I'm going to get on my soapbox, but when someone has gone to all the trouble to make an application, they come and they argue before us, I think it's being cutesy to make a motion that you're not going to vote for. I just don't think that's right.
I don't either.
Well, and especially given, can I use the R word, a rural setting? You know, where this is not the big city.
Right.
We try to speak in a way that is straightforward and people understand what you're talking about, and you don't want to leave people confused. I mean, we're only a 20-year-old town, barely. It's important that we be straightforward and upfront and not, we don't have suits.
Yeah.
Well, you know, people
know what I
might think
mean?
we're playing
Yeah.
tricks, kind of, and that's not.
Yeah, in a public hearing on a zoning change or a subdivision, it would be a disaster
I agree.
to get it on the table that way, and then in the end, vote to deny the applicant.
Right.
There would be howling.
And I also don't like the suggestion that has been made from certain lawyers to let something die for lack of a second.
Yes.
If it's an ordinance change that the council's voting on, I can kind of see that. But it goes back to, you've had an applicant come in, they've spent money, they've put on their case, they deserve a vote.
Yep, even if it's one to say, to deny it.
I think
Yes.
it could work, though, as long as, for the commission, as long as we keep in mind that we're voting on the motion, not the application. Whatever the motion is, we're voting for.
Oh.
And the chair has to restate, and it goes on who's presiding has to do that.
I would be very tempted to preface for the benefit of the public. You know, now you're going to hear us make a motion, this is just to open the discussion, to get this on the table so that we can discuss it. So hold your applause, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we could try it, but
I don't even
don't
feel
know, it sounds
comfortable. I
awkward.
seem like the way we've been going along
Yeah.
has been really working, and we're just hearing their case, and then we make our motion,
Yeah.
because they've presented their case. I don't want to make a motion, well, I haven't even heard the case. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Can
Well,
you
we'd
make
have
the
heard
motion?
testimony by that time, though, haven't we?
No, we would have to make the motion to even hear the testimony, wouldn't we?
Yeah, that's what I thought, that it was a motion to open discussion.
Yeah.
That's what I thought he said.
So
After
what's the call
testimony.
for question?
You have to
Call for the
vote on the
question.
motion that was made. Means that we're
Because
going to
that
stop
confused the heck out of
discussing.
me.
Because we're going to stop discussing and we're going to vote. I don't want to talk anymore, let's
So
just
just call
vote.
for the question means everyone be
Just vote
quiet.
on the motion, yeah, that's what that means.
Oh, wow.
That's the way I understand it, am I correct?
Right.
So, to me, with planning and zoning, we just should do like we are, and then someone makes the motion to accept.
So you
Or
would like to
deny.
deliberate before there's a motion on the floor?
Well, at least want to hear the whole, well,
Well, see, that's the question.
Are we- I guess-
Are we opening it up with the motion? That's what is that what he's saying? that-
Well, I don't think we're opening the
No, the
hearing with it.
applicant tells their story first.
The testimony
okay.
would come first, then you
Oh, get the
close
hear-
the,
okay.
you close testimony, and then you go to the commission deliberating. But that's the point at which you just offer a motion before there's any discussion of,
so we could do
So,
it that way, make
the
someone,
safest way
wonder if
to
no
do
one
it-
makes one.
The safest way to do it is also the most confusing way. The default position is we deny, right? Unless the applicant has made a compelling case and unless our discussion goes in that direction, we're going to leave things the way they are. So to open it, you would say, motion to deny the applicant's request. Now, let's discuss. Da-da-da-da-da-da, and the way you approve the applicant's request is by everyone voting no on the motion to deny. That is squeaky clean
But
and
that's after
confusing
testimony, though.
as hell. Yes.
Yes.
So it's testimony, close the hearing, motion to deny, discussion, vote on the motion, and to say yes to the applicant, you would have to say no to the motion to deny.
Yeah.
We tried that in council when Brad Hill was on council, and it didn't go very far,
Yeah.
because nobody could keep track of,
That would, yes.
That
I
is
don't
the
think I
other-
could.
that is the other thing, is that if you get into a long contentious hearing that is standing room only, that goes on and on and on, because there's a bazillion people, we will be tired. And so that's the thing of, how do you do it in the most
Right.
straightforward?
the other way to do it is to, testimony, close the hearing, and then you're allowed to preface your motion. You're allowed to say, for the purpose of opening this question for discussion, I move that we approve the applicant's proposal.
And then we could all be
Then you
vote
have to get a
against it.
second, and then
Second,
discussion.
Then discuss.
Okay.
But then when it comes
Then
time
you
to
put it
vote,
to a
you
vote.
could, you could vote against what you
Yes.
made.
That's when
Good.
another motion can be made, right? Because this happened the other night at town council, when they were voting on the raises. Linda said, I move that we approve the raises, and then there was a second, and then Audrey came in and said that she made a, no,
It was-
she
it
did a
was-
friendly amendment, and Linda said no. So then Audrey came back with a motion to approve the raises except for anybody on probation, and Sherry seconded it.
That's an
So
unfriendly
the-
amendment.
that's-
So they
Yeah.
voted
Dropped in the
on
middle.
On the amendment.
Audrey's.
How can you have two motions on the
You
floor?
Well,
can't.
you voted on the amendment.
Yeah.
They voted on the amendment first, that was right.
Yeah,
And they voted it down, and then they voted on the original.
because the mayor asked Linda if she accepted the friendly amendment, and Linda said no.
That question is now the question on the floor, and it is the only question on the floor. You can't suddenly drop a second question into it.
They did, though.
So you can amend it.
I've never
It
seen
was,
that happen.
it was another motion.
No, you can't have two motions on the floor at the
No,
same
you
time.
have to dispense with the first one and then go in a different direction.
Well, Radcliffe said we could amend that original, they wanted to amend it.
Friendly amendment.
Amend it, but the
And-
amendment was
But
turned
the
down.
person who made the motion said no.
Yeah.
So
But
then
why
you-
would, I don't remember Radcliffe saying that you had to get approval from the first person who made the
Yes.
motion
Yeah.
Yes,
to
you
amend
do.
it.
You
You
do.
do.
You do.
Now, as
So-
I understand
So they
it-
didn't really do it right then.
They didn't.
As I
I'm
understand
afraid
it,
we'll
the
get
only-
confused like that, too.
Once you've been through this whole process, the only person who can then say, I move we reopen the question, is the person who voted no. So Linda says, I move this. Boom, second. I would like to make a friendly amendment. No. The chair or mayor says, discussion. Okay, let's vote. Yes, yes, yes. Audrey says no, right? It's passed. But now Audrey has the right, I think, to reopen the question.
I think
because
they
she
did it
voted
no.
wrong. They did it wrong.
So she can say, motion to reopen the question. But only the person who voted no can do that.
Yeah.
Because there's no need for the people who voted yes to revisit the question.
I don't think that you guys would have this problem. But, yeah,
That-
it was
yeah,
very
you can't have two
confusing.
motions on the floor at the same time.
And it was funny because Amelia's taking the notes and I'm sitting next to her and she goes, what just happened? I'm like, I don't know.
I know what,
what happened.
Shouldn't come to
what
parliamentary
British Parliament would
training,
do
you know?
with it is there would be a portly man yelling, order!
Order.
Is
That's
that,
how they handle it.
is that the speaker or their sergeant at arms?
The speaker. Yeah, no longer. He's now,
He's been axed.
Well, so let's come back to our case and we have a hearing. So after they give their testimony, we usually ask them questions. Is that still part of the, should we have a motion before we ask them questions? Or we have to do our questions and then, because usually we do make a motion after we've asked a number of questions.
We shouldn't be asking questions after the testimony phase is over.
Right.
Well, part of the thing is for us to ask them questions. That's part of you usually allow us to ask.
during testimony.
During
During
testimony.
testimony.
Right.
But
So
once
by
that's-
then, we will have asked about every question and just kind of
But we will not have asked questions of each other.
of each other.
Right.
The discussion phase among ourselves is very different from what we're asking the applicant. So we're never going to ask the applicant about the comprehensive plan. But during our own discussion, we might
Right.
say,
Right.
well, I feel this is out of step with the comprehensive plan, to each other. So they're two very different things. At what point you put a motion on the table, I like the
Because
way
I-
we're doing it.
I do too.
I just
Instead of
don't like
I don't think
confusing-
we should change it.
I think if we
should
put a
just leave it.
motion, if we, for or against, it's going to confuse the audience and it's going
Right.
to confuse us.
Yeah, I
Until
think we
we've
should just,
discussed it. I know,
I can police
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I can reinforce it. I can say, well, now what we need to discuss this question is first, we want a motion on the table. I would recommend a motion to deny unless we find in our discussion that we want to approve, right? When we get there, I'm going to have to say, now remember, because we have a motion on the table to deny, if you want to approve these guys, we all have to vote no on that motion.
Right.
Right.
I can do it, but it's going to be cumbersome as hell.
but you'd have to have a motion and then you have to have a second. And that sounds like two people have already agreed to deny, and that may not really be how you feel.
Now, if you end up in an appeal, does the applicant say, well, they did this fancy footwork with the motions and I got
Might.
confused? Then you're safer just being straightforward
Yep.
about it.
You should be straightforward, but as long as you announce it and that's in the record, they can't come back.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know. I just think we ought to do how we've been doing it. It
Yep,
just seemed
I
like
agree.
it's been working.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not what Randy said, but
I
I
think
don't feel
Randy was
comfortable
there-
with that.
really there for the council.
And I think it applied more to council.
Doesn't, well, it
But
doesn't
even with
sound like-
council, they're going to have to understand it more. I think they should discuss it more so that they understand it among themselves.
Yeah.
What they're really going to do.
Well, and the council does substantially different work.
They do.
They have personnel matters, and we do mostly legislative recommendations and quasi-judicial. So we have a different.
Our audience is
Yeah.
different than theirs.
Yeah.
in a way.
But I agree with Cheryl. I think I like what we've been doing.
Let's just try it this way until somebody makes us stop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
I'm
Good
glad
idea.
y'all agreed, because I'm like, I think I'm going to get real confused if we change.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew what he said, but I just.
I know.
And I've heard what he said before, and another time I've heard, and I'm like, I just don't see how to apply this.
Yeah.
If we try, I'm going to have to laminate a third script.
Well, the other problem I would see for quasi-judicial things, there's so many details that come out. And we need to do some discussion, but that brings up what I kind of wanted to address, which is related to this, is that writing down a motion at some point after discussion. Because, if you have to make some detailed
Yeah,
conditions, then you're going to have to go back and redo the original motion, and it's hard enough as it is.
We've had a
Yeah.
little trouble with that.
I've done it on the fly in council before, where it's like, okay, so if I've got this right, I move that we da-da-da-da, unless da-da-da-da-da-da, and then where it's a paragraph motion.
Yeah, Glenn's one of the few people I know who can actually do it and
At
make
that
sense.
point,
I was trying to make one, I had to get her help, it was so hard.
at that point, you do want to
Confusing. Yeah.
be sketching it out before you get
Before you
to
say it,
making the
yeah.
motion.
And I'm bad about that. I need somebody to jog me about that.
We don't always have time to write it out. We would be sitting here a while.
Well, I hope we can be diplomatic if it comes to a question and say that we respectfully dissent from, from the prevailing thing because of the nature of what we do.
Right.
So,
And it's in the public's best interest
Right.
for us to keep it the way it is.
I think the public would be happier with the way we've been doing it.
A lot easier to understand for the public, yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Turner, anything new tonight? Nothing new for me except the status of my attending the open house is up in the air because I don't know if my other half is coming to Silver City or not when the meeting ends.
Yeah.
Or what's on the table is maybe we should meet in T or C. She'll stop there and I'll meet her on my way up, or nothing at all. I'll either be coming home with you guys or I'll be staying on somewhere in the south. Oh, man.
Chantilly.
If there's one thing I hate missing, I used to go to retirement parties at
Just for the
UNM
cake.
for people I didn't know. An email would go out that would say, Dean so-and-so is retiring, and I would walk to main campus just for the cake. Darn it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And a
fireworks,
band,
that's cool.
and beer.
Oh, we're having a band?
We're having a band
Who's
and
the
beer.
band?
Maybe not beer.
Why are we having trouble with the beer?
no beer.
I'm not going
Is this
now.
during the day?
It's that evening at 6
Well,
o'clock.
I'll try to attend if I
When
can.
we
Right,
get
on a
back, it is
That's
Friday
the
when we
only
get
news I
back.
have tonight.
Yeah.
I'll make my
We'll be
best
gone, we'll
effort.
be coming
Okay.
back.
And I don't know how it's going to go.
Right, right.
All right.
Ultimately, I'll do
But
what
for
I'm
the
told.
public,
I
right?
think you had got a better turnout this
At
had been
home.
on Saturday.
Yeah, why was it on a Friday when we're not here?
What?
Why is it on that Friday?
Why is
We'll be
open house
back
on the
by-
Friday?
by
It's
6.
very hard to schedule things, and they weren't gonna base it around us.
Or on a Saturday? Because
That's true.
is it not really, it's for the town, right?
Well, I think the idea of it is for the open house, if we were to have it on a Saturday, you're gonna have to pay a lot of overtime.
Well, you have to reopen.
Yeah, we'd have to
Reopen.
reopen. So the open
Yeah.
house is 4 to 6,
Because people already
They
have
can tour
all these
everything.
offices already open.
and
Yeah.
then afterwards we're closed, but it's
Huh.
the celebration.
It's a pity because I realize I may have served the most varied stints in town office, recreation, council, P&Z, and I think I've had the most runs for council.
Yeah.
Tied with Chuck Ring, I don't know. It's a shame if I can't make it.
Yeah, you need to
It
go.
would be, you've done a
It'll
lot.
be more fun if you're here.
So that takes us to matters from staff.
So I just wanted to give you guys, Cheryl didn't put one next to you because I gave you
I've
one
got
at the
it.
thing.
I was gonna bring it in the end, but I didn't want it to get wet, so it's in my car.
So this is what I gave the council at the last meeting. It takes them through where they can find it. It takes them to why we're doing it. Shows them the changes.
Very nice.
I like
Yes,
that. I
very
thought it
well
was
done.
very well put together.
So that will also, on the 2nd, if you all can make it, that will be in their packets, and then I'll make all the changes inside those ordinances so they can see the flow of it all. But I think they're gonna have this for a month. That gives them plenty of time to ask any questions. I told every one of them that,
Ask you if they got
Yes.
questions ahead of time.
and it's on the website, just like this, just
Okay.
like in the council packet. So,
Please don't surprise us at the meeting.
yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that they've got enough information there.
Have you had any feedback?
None.
Yeah.
And you gave this to them at the last meeting? Just
Yes.
Last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday, okay.
Yeah, so October 2nd, 6:30, if everybody can make it, that'll show them that everybody's in support of it. Because this is business registration didn't go well, so I can't imagine what this is gonna cost. And there weren't like anything shocking being changed. Really, there wasn't
No, not really.
in the business registration. But that was a little bit of a battle.
But it did pass
It
essentially.
did pass, yes.
Just with the threshold being tweaked.
Well, we'll see what happens. I think everything that's in here, maybe I'm biased, I don't think I am, but it all is very positive.
I think so. I
bringing
don't think
things
there's
into proper
anything in there.
And we gave it a lot of thought.
We did. We worked on it really hard. The only thing I think that we might have some blowback on is in development review. Just because
Yeah.
I'm not business friendly. That seems to be the theme.
Well, you do have to understand that the town was incorporated so that people could do what they would do.
No, I know. It
That's-
shows.
It was kind of a utopian experiment.
Yeah. So that's really the only one that I'm worried about.
Okay.
But this right here is for our office, because we're already implementing these things and making sure of, these things on our own, just to be safe, or have good development, when you place a home and things like that, and having a 14-foot driveway, that's something that the fire truck needs to get in.
Yes.
So we're already doing that anyway, but we need to have it in there so we're covered, if anybody ever questions it.
Right.
So, other than that, I think we're ready.
Okay.
If anything else, the Horton Road paving project is starting on the 16th.
Yay.
Good.
Oh, and I wanted to get on the same page with everybody going to NMLZO, how we wanted to work with carpooling, et cetera, what time we were meeting, all that good stuff.
Right.
I was figuring that we would meet here at Town Hall at 7 and head out.
In the morning?
Yeah,
4 hours.
it's a 4.5-hour drive, yes.
I'm
Don't
usually
worry,
in my
Carla.
classroom.
You're
You're
not
not
going
you're
to
not-
have to bring me.
problem.
I'll
Yeah.
meet them in Los Lunas.
Right, so Tanya was gonna meet us in Los Lunas, and then we can follow each other down from there.
Yeah, okay.
But if that works for you guys, if 7 is a good timetable for you, just wanted to run that by you, make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay.
I'm
How
good-
many
I'm good with
cars,
that.
who's driving what?
I can drive all of us if you'd like. I can use the code vehicle.
I don't want to drive, I want to ride.
Someone can jump in with me in Los Lunas.
Okay, and if
Yeah,
we're a
and
little
we can-
crowded, that would
Two
give you
vehicles,
someone
yeah.
to.
Yeah, so it should
Yeah.
just be the two.
Because I may have a vehicle coming down to meet me, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't need one.
Yeah, I don't want to drive my cruddy old Subaru.
Yeah, so.
Car's a little old, I don't try to take it too far.
Okay, 7 o'clock here. Easy.
Yeah, that's good.
Perfect.
Looking forward to that, it'll be a nice.
It'll be fun.
If you guys think that there's someone we missed not inviting to the celebration, just let me know.
I won't even know who you invited. I don't know who you invited.
Tell her who you don't want invited.
Commissioner, board member,
She's ever been on it.
every past mayor.
Is that the only people are invited to come to the celebration at 6? But other people can go to the open houses?
Oh, well, everybody's going to celebration. The invitation is so that only the mayor can recognize your contribution to the town.
Okay.
During the celebration. But the celebration is free and open to the public.
Okay.
You guys are getting a special invite that you'd like an RSVP form, just so we can acknowledge your presence there and what you've been doing.
Okay.
All right.
Well, if we get us back in time, we'll be there.
Yeah.
We gotta be sure to leave on time to get back.
Absolutely.
Well, and there's a part of the last day that is just hoopla.
We
where
might
they-
get to leave out a little
Yeah,
bit
so
early.
we can leave, probably, honestly, we could probably leave about 10.
Because
That's-
I'd really
yeah.
like to go to the open houses, because even though I've been here, I don't get to see the police station or
Yeah.
I don't get to go see the courthouse or the animal control. I've never
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
inside of any of those buildings.
Yeah, so we could probably easily leave there by 10 and not really miss anything.
And they give out certificates, but. around
They'll
that
mail
time.
them.
Yeah.
Well, they,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want you guys hurrying home, take,
I know, so if we could, yeah, leave just a little early, I think, since we have all this going on, it'd be nice.
Yeah.
What is it, like 4.5 hours?
Yeah, that's about
Something
right.
like
It's a
that.
long
At
trip,
least.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
pretty long trip.
Yeah, it is. It's further than Clovis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got to go west
The
on
longest.
smaller
Got to
roads.
go, yeah,
Rather
down
than-
and, mhm.
Red River too.
I've never been to Silver City, so I'm excited.
I haven't
know,
either.
It's been years
I
and
never
years
have.
ago, so I'm really looking forward, because it's a cute little town.
That'll be fun.
All right, anything else, staff? All right, 7 a.m.'s on my calendar to depart here next week. And that brings us to calendar update. Next meeting, September 24th. We're going to do more discussion, design standards, reference guide, a reminder here, NMLZO that we just talked about, open house, we nailed that down. October 2nd, we got that. And we have 2 public hearings, is that right?
We may have 4.
Maybe 4.
We might have 4.
All in one night
Yep.
in October, our
Yes.
October meeting?
October 8th.
Okay,
Ugh.
on October 8th.
That would be a lot for one night.
Yeah, we won't have anything else on there. There won't be any discussing anything.
Yeah, but still,
And we won't be making
the way
any
what one of
fancy
them is.
motions.
no fancy
fancy
motions.
motions.
No fancy
I'm not gonna
motions.
lip
No fancy motions,
We'll
yeah.
keep it really straightforward, because it could be a long night.
Yep.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Sounds like there's a break in the weather.
We may have an interesting
Who
ride
we
home.
adjourn, who moved?
Nobody yet.
Oh,
You better make the
oh,
motion
you'll
first.
entertain the motion?
Yes.
Yeah, you gotta make it.
Somebody make a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second? Of course
I'll
there is.
second, I'll second.
Okay, we have a
that.
motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I just.
Nobody wants to go home.
Really make
I don't know what's going on. Nobody wants to go home.